Welcome back, and just gonna do a quick little update for what if Deku was a magician. There we go. Sorry, it's kind of taking a little bit. If Deku was a magician, I asked you guys what should the ship be, and the ship's gonna be what if I feel like it's okay. Oh, and I will add this. If you'll read it right here, and the ship will be Froppy, because a lot of people want Froppy. So yeah. Let me see if I have any other updates. This one is going to be, where was it? Ryu and Sophia, and then people pretty much just, the comment section was very sus in that video. So yeah, this is going to be what if Deku was a werewolf. So, well, yeah, was a werewolf. Let me explain how this is going to work. So, when Deku was born, they noticed that Deku had small ears, like a little wolf, but they thought it was more like a cat. So they thought he had like a type of cat quirk, so they knew it was a mutation quirk. At age 3, he knows how to do pretty much what a 3-year-old could do. But at age 3, his ears started looking more like wolf ears, and he also has a tail that's poofy. Pretty much he looks like this, or his ears and tail look like this. So yeah. And at age 4, they went to the quirk doctor to look at his quirk. And he will not meet Bakugo in this, just so you know. Well, not yet, at least. And the quirk doctor said, your son has 2 quirks. Or, yeah, 2 quirks. And he says, wait, what do you mean? He has 2 quirks. And the doctor says, well, his first quirk, as you could tell, is called a wolf. He could transform into wolf and change different body parts to wolf. Like, he could change his claws into wolf claws, or he could have the agility as a wolf. Or he could have the good ears, stuff like that. Pretty much explains what he could do with his wolf one. Then he says he has a fire ability. And Inko thinks, okay, that's her husband's quirk. And he says it's a very powerful one, because when we looked at his arms, it looked like it started coming in a little bit ago. And then she's like, what do you mean? If you look at his arms, there's a marking here that is a green fire. And she's like, oh, I see. So what are we calling it? Well, it's a 2 quirk, so it's 2 quirks. So one is called werewolf, and the other we could call green hail. I think green hail, because why the hell not? So yeah. And Azuku was pretty strong. He trained with his quirks, and Azuku will look like this when he transforms into a wolf. Where is it? I saw it earlier. He would look like this. But he could, like, also put it on different types. Like, he could kind of turn it on fire. And this will be later. So, yeah. Let me get back to the image that we were just at. There we go. And, where was it? Oh, yeah. And he never went to school with anyone, really. He just went to a school by himself. He had a few friends, but some people still bullied him, and he didn't really care. But one day, he got home from school, and he's in middle school. You always can be college because I needed to. And when he got home, he saw his mother on the floor, bleeding. He didn't know what happened. He said, Mom, are you there, Mom? He's very concerned. When he flipped her over, for she's on her back, she sees that there's a hole between her eyes. And Deku noticed that he was robbed, and his mother was there, unfortunately. He called the police, and the police took him to a foster care. Right? No, they took him to an orphanage, yeah. And Azuku was really stuck. When he went to school that day, the next day, the teacher already known, and the teacher hugged him. He said, "I'm so sorry, Azuku." And he says, "It's okay, Azal." He says, "It's okay." And the first people that came to the orphanage, let's say it was the trying to think who should his family be now. I was thinking Azawa's, but don't know. Give me a second. Okay, so the family that is going to take him is drum roll. Oh wait, I'm by myself, sadly. Anyways, it's gonna be the Mina's family, the Oshaways. I don't think I'm saying that right, but Mina's family. And Mina was there, and she saw Deku, right? And he was just pretty much in his room. Sorry if you heard that. My sister's being retarded, of course. Where was I? Fuck. Yeah. Give me a second. Need to think real quick. Okay. Sorry. And he had to come out to meet this family. Because since Izuku's 15, no, let's say it's been 2 years. Since he's 17, he's about to graduate. He gets to choose if he wants to go with that family or not. And he opened the door and the family was just sitting there waiting. And he said hello. Right, he had manners at first. And then he sat down and he said, "So, why would you like to pick me?" And they said, "Well, we heard what happened to you and we just wanted to help." And he said, "Help? That was 2 years ago. That would have taken you guys probably 2 years ago if you guys came." And then they said, "Well, and also we have a daughter that's very lonely. We didn't have another child, so we just came here to see what we could do, and you're the oldest here, so we just wanted to choose you." And he said, "Fine, I guess." Right? And the little kids there, really enjoyed Deku. And when they heard that Azuku was going to be leaving them, they were crying. They say, "Please don't leave, don't leave. You're a big brother." Right? And Zuko's crying, and he's like, "I know, I am. Just be good. I'll visit you guys, okay?" Right? And he's pretty saddened by how he has to leave, or that he made the decision to leave. And one of the students that Izuku liked a lot, or one of the kids that Izuku liked a lot, was a girl that's always sassy. She yelled at Izuku, "You know you had a choice, right?" Crying, and he says, "Yes, I do. But I have to leave the orphanage at one point. I'll come visit you guys as much as I can. If you guys leave, I'm sorry, but yeah." And he packed up everything, and he didn't really have that much. He just had some clothes, and yeah, and like 2 pairs of shoes. And yeah. And in the car, let's say when they were in the car, they asked, "Hey, what's your quirk?" If you want to say. And he says, "I have 2. And they all looked at him. Mina was confused. She's like, "You have 2?" He says, "Yes, as you can tell right now, I have my first ability is called Wolf." And they're like, "Okay." And your second, and he says, "My second quirk is called Green Hail." And they're like, "Why Green Hail?" He says, "It's pretty much fire." And they're like, "Oh, kind of weird to call it hail." And he's like, I could really change it. If you guys want me to change that name, please tell me in the comments. He's like, whatever. Doesn't really matter. But he didn't know that with the wolf, he had any types of wolves. So, like that other image I showed you that will come in later, I said, he could transform into a god wolf. Pretty much what the god wolf is, pretty much giving him control over wolves and other, like, dogs and stuff like that. and pretty much he could control. He would have antlers, because why the hell not? Actually, no. Yeah, why the hell not? Sorry about that. So yeah, let's get back into it. And let's say Zuko graduates finally. And oh, and I was thinking the ship could be Mirko. You guys tell me. So yeah. She could be like the second. She could be like Zuko could be pretty much in the same area with Mirko, I guess you could say. Like she's a year ahead of him, if you guys want. So yeah. You guys tell me what the ship is. And let's say one day, the parents of Mina pretty much went to go sign Deku under them for pretty much like they adopted him and now they're his child. So yeah. And Asui knows that Izuku's her stepbrother now. Wait, right? Or no, I don't know how that stuff works. Sorry if you hear sounds in the background, I'm just messing with a slinky while making this video. So yeah. Where was I? Yeah. And let's say Izuku went for UA pretty much. And yeah. He had the 10 months to train. I'm gonna make him meet Mirio or Mirko. I don't know why I said Mirio. Yeah, but I'm gonna make him meet Mirko pretty soon, so yeah. And let's say he's been training and he is getting he knows that he could transform as long as he wants to be as a regular wolf. Right? So let's say for 3 months he went into the wild and he told pretty much Mina and Mina's parents about that. And they're like, "Oh, are you sure about this?" And he says, "Yeah, I'll be okay. I can't get hurt because I'm pretty much look like a leader and wolves." So he ran into a forest, and he was in his wolf form. And let's say when he was in his wolf form, it's the 2nd month of training before you get into UA. Right, so there's still that 10-month thing. And Izuku was in his 2nd month of doing it, because he was just going to do it for 5 months. And Izuku got dominant over a pack. And the pack leader was pretty much is Deku could turn into a direwolf. Like, if you watch, I'll show you, give me a second. Instead of transforming into that antler one I showed you guys earlier in the beginning of the video, he's going to transform into this. And Izuku knows that he just found a breed of direwolves, so he pretty much could transform into this. And Izuku was surprised that he found these he thought that direwolves went extinct, pretty much. And one day when he was roaming around with his pack, because now these wolves could pretty much always follow him, and when he gets into UA, they're always going to follow him. So yeah, because let's say since direwolves, I'm going to make them talk. And these are not the only species that can talk. Okay, so yeah. And direwolves are pretty much kind of one of the strongest animals that can talk out there. And one of the strongest animals. And Izuku showed them his human form. And they were all shocked. Some were just in disbelief. And one day they were roaming around. And Izuku saw this girl. She had rabbit ears and everything. And she was hanging out with other rabbits, pretty much, let's say. Yes, it's Mirko. What the fuck do you think? I'm sorry. I was talking to myself. And he was pretty much, Deku was trying to not trying to draw attention to her, because he just wanted to be alone with his pack. And for some odd reason, she took notice of him. She said, "You, wolf, or direwolf." And he looked at her and he said, "Me." And she's like, "Huh, so you guys can talk." And he's like, yeah, what? She's like, are you the leader? And he says, yeah. She's like, fight me. And Zuko was in shock. He said, wait, what? She said, fight me. And he said, no. And he said, okay, let's keep going. And Mirko tried to go for a kick, but Izuku went into his human form and caught it. And he was also using his flame ability. So when he caught it, when you looked into his eyes, you see this little spark. You see sparks going off, and he said, "Please, I don't want to fight." And he dropped her foot and tried to walk off again, but in his wolf form, and he started running. And when he was running, you see this fire coming off this direwolf, right? So pretty much like this, his fur around here, around this, is more, it has fire, and so at the tip of his tail. So yeah, but it doesn't spread unless he wants it to. And Izuku was leaving, and Mirko was right behind him, trying to run, but running after him, but she was too slow. She's slow. Well, she's not slow, like, she couldn't catch up with him. Because direwolves are faster than cars, pretty much. And Mirko could run as fast as a car, let's say. I don't know if that's true, but yeah. And then when he thought he was clear, because it's Azuku, because he thinks everything's clear, he took a breath and he looked at his pack and he said, "Is everyone okay?" Because he didn't know if she tried to attack the others. And everyone said, "Yeah, we're all here." He's like, "Okay, well, let's get going." And now we're going to time skip when 5 months were over. He says, "Well, I gotta go now. It's nice, but you guys could choose a leader now." And they all say, "No, no." And they're just saying, "No." And he's like, "Well, you guys can't come with me into a city." And they're like, "Yes, we can." And then Izuku's like, "What? How?" And then they all went behind him and said, and they went into his shadow. Yeah, I'm pretty much just gonna add what they did. And what that time I got reincarnated as a slime, where the wolves could jump out of their shadows. He said, "Well, we could all be in your shadow." And he's like, "What? Okay, so now I have wolves at my disposal. Nice." And he says, "Well, okay." And he went home, and the Yasuis were kind of getting worried. Well, they were worried for that time. And let's say Mirko came out with Izuku pretty much. Well, Izuku didn't notice, but Mirko noticed him. So Mirko followed Izuku. And Mirko followed him to the house. And she's like, "Wait, what?" And when he got in, he said, "I'm back from training." And she's like, "That was training? It's been 3 months. And then he's like, "I'm going to take a long shower. I need to." And the Asui said, "Yeah, okay." And he went to take a shower. Mirko got home and everything, pretty much. And yeah. And let's say, so that was 5 months. And let's say on the 7th month, he's started training with Mina. And Kirishima also came along with the training. And they were just really good friends. And they were just training well. Izuku showed them the direwolves pretty much because he trusted Mina and Kirishima, and they were in shock. And Mina said, "Wait, did you find these during your 5 months of training in the woods?" Kirishima's like, "Wait, you went to the woods for 5 months?" And he said, "Yes, I did." And he's like, "How the hell did you?" And then he transformed into a wolf, into pretty much a direwolf, not into this form yet. He's like, "Well, I transformed into this, and then I transformed into, well, what you see on the screen." And they just see him look amazing. And then he says, when they first, and then I pretty much got attacked by some girl. Don't know who she was at all. I pretty much just ran off with all of them. And then Mina and Kirishima had the exact same idea. And they're like, "Wait, where did the other wolves go?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, since I showed you, they pretty much all jumped back into my shadow in there. And they, wait, what? And he says, yeah, they hide in my shadow. And they're like, no way. And they kind of don't believe him, and he's trying to tell them the truth. And then out of nowhere, let's say a villain attack happened, right? And you just hear, let's say you hear Bakugo's, this is where they're going to meet Bakugo finally. You hear this explosion, boom. It's just over and over again. They ran over to it, and they see this boy trapped in this slime. And Shui and Kirishima want to help, and when they looked at Azuku, he was already gone. You see him in his wolf form, into this form that you see on the screen, but it's on fire. And you see the rest of the fire around him. Like, because you know how it went canon, how there was fire everywhere? Pretty much all the fire turned green and went into Izuku. And Izuku's flames were, mane and everything was growing bigger. Izuku was growing bigger in size since all the fire was coming to him. Right? And people noticed this, and then they noticed that there was more wolves behind him. And one person, let's say, said, wait, those are direwolves. And everyone was in shock that direwolves were here. And when all the fire was gone, heroes started rushing in more. And let's say Zuku was humongous. He was as big as, let's say, regular All Might when he was in buff form. That's how tall he was. And he looked down at the villain and said, let him go, in a deep voice. Everyone, even the heroes, were shooken by this. They didn't want to move. And the slime was scared. He let go of the boy and tried to run off, but then he said, catch him. And all the wolves went after him. And the wolves pretty much got him pinned into a wall, and the heroes caught up with the wolves and captured him. And then the wolves, and let's say one of the heroes tried to capture these wolves, right? And all the wolves just ran away back to Izuku. And Izuku's still in this form. And you just see, and Izuku says, let's go. And they just ran off, for no one knows Izuku's identity. And where these direwolves went. And let's say at the scene, Mirko was there, so she knew who that was, or in a way. And Bakugo was in shock. He was pretty much kind of passed out a little. He was passed out pretty much, right? But he remembered what this person. Well, he was all pissed. No, he wasn't knocked out. He was just pissed that this random person, because he didn't know if this was human or not. No one really knew what that was. Just saved him. He was just kind of cussing. He was just like, God damn it, what the fuck was that? I didn't need to whatever the goddamn thing was. Right, he was just cussing and cussing. And, yeah. Kirishima and Mina ran off to find Deku, and they found Izuku. Right, and you just see him kind of exhausted, breathing hard, and they're like, wait, what happened? And he's like, God, I did not think that was gonna work. I thought I was gonna die, honestly. Right, smiling about it, and they're like, oh Jesus, that was reckless. And they're like, yeah. Wait, did anyone catch me transforming? And then they looked on their phones because they got a ding, and they said, and you just see this post about boy getting saved by by a direwolf thing, by this animal. And it was an image of Izuku, pretty much in his form, with other direwolves around him. And Izuku's like, oh god, no. And he didn't really want his identity, but at UA he will pretty much lose his identity. And let's say now it's the final week before, let's do a time skip, final week before UA. Or before the entrance exam, there we go. And Izuku was just training with everyone. He noticed that more people came in because Mina told them about their training with Izuku. Or let's say Mina and Kirishima's friends pretty much came in to help train with them because they've seen how much their quirks have progressed. Because, like, Mina now could pretty much kind of, she could shoot her acid more accurate, and Kirishima could take more hits now. They pretty much notice he hasn't got his unbreakable form yet. So, yeah. And when people saw Azuku, they pretty much, Azuku just transformed into wolves. Into just a regular wolf. He didn't want to show off his dire form. Right? Because he could transform into a regular direwolf, but he thinks that kind of be strange how he can transform into a direwolf, and he also used his fire ability with it, but not really many people thought about that. I'll say one of these people were Mirko, and Mirko looked at him, and they just had a very silent look at each other. And Mina and Kirishima were very confused, because let's say it was just Mirko that day, and it was like the day before the entrance exam, and he said, hello, nice to meet you again, right? And he says, so which one, and then he looked at Kirishima and Mina, and he said, so which one of you guys are friends with her? And they said, none of us. We don't even know her. And then he looks back, and you see Mirko's ears, like, just pointed up. And he said, yes. He says, you're that boy that I saw in the forest I tried to attack, weren't you? He's like, yes. And then she said, wait, you're also the boy that helped that boy that was all bratty during that attack with that villain, did you? And he said, also yes, please don't tell anyone. Right? And let's say a news reporter was nearby, and her quirk was like really good hearing. And she heard that, and she said, wait, what? So she told her crew, because let's say that they're just at a cafe or something, and they said, pack up, we got news, and I know where to go. And they all drove, and they pretty much saw Azuku, and they ran down, and they're like, you, I know it was you. Who did you say that it was, that dire kid? And Mirko was just sweating and very exhausted. She said, what? And then they looked at Azuku in his into this form, pretty much, right? And you see other dire wolves around. And the news had their camera recording. And they're like, you, transform into your regular form. And Azuku was pretty much shrinking. Well, it wasn't his big form. They're like, wait, weren't you a lot bigger? He says, well, when I consume pretty much fire, I grow bigger. Right? And he started transforming into his regular self. And he transformed, and people pretty much, and this was live news, and everyone knew who this was. And Bakugo was on the television, and saw this. Hold on. Okay. And he saw where their location was, so people pretty much drove to see Izuku. And they were just at the beach, Bodega Beach. And yeah, people were just surrounding them, and Izuku said, sorry, but, and Izuku was pretty much overwhelmed, so was everyone else. And Izuku transformed into his direwolf and jumped over everyone. He said, sorry, but we're trying to train for tomorrow. They're like, oh wait, are you training for a hero school? And they say, yeah, UA. And they said, oh, sorry, we're so sorry. But except for Bakugo. Bakugo's like, oh, you're not even going to get in. And stuff. And everyone looked at him and said, dude, you can't even save yourself, but he saved you. And Bakugo was just furious. He tried to explode Izuku, but Kirishima got in the way and was hardened with his quirk. And he's like, please don't attack him. He's a good friend. Right? And they're just exhausted because they've been training for a while. And then Izuku's like, okay, that's enough training. I'm going to head home. Call me when you're going to start heading back, okay? And let's say the reporter grabbed him and said, wait, what's your name first for everyone can know? He's like, oh, you guys were recording, that makes sense why. He says, well, I guess my identity's up. Izuku Midoriya. Or Izuku Ashiri, I think? I don't know how, whatever last name Mina's is. And Mina was happy that he used their last name instead of his old one. But Azuku still remembers him. So he says, I used to be Azuku Midoriya, but now I am Azuku, whatever last name. Right? So yeah. And I can keep going, why not? And now it's the day of the entrance exam. And with the entrance exam, Izuku walked with Kirishima and Mirko and Mina. And obviously Deku. Right? And let's say when they were walking, because I kind of just want to add her, because why the hell not? Pretty bored. they see a girl that had poofy blonde hair, and she looked like she got hurt. Well, she ran into an alleyway, and Zuko noticed this, and then he kind of walked past, but with a glimpse of his eye, he saw boys around her, trying to tear her clothes off. And Izuku kept walking, and then you hear a slight, help me, please, right? And Izuku stopped walking. Mirko, Kirishima, and Mina were confused. They said, wait, why are you stopped moving? He said, you guys keep walking. I gotta deal with something. And none of them listened. They followed Izuku, and Izuku didn't care. He walked into the alleyway, and Mirko and Kirishima and Mina saw what it was. They were disgusted. They saw these three boys trying to rape a girl. And Izuku kept walking and then started transforming into his direwolf. He summoned two direwolves, and then two other direwolves came in. And the boys looked behind them, and they just see it. This direwolf, this humongous direwolf, with flames coming off of him, with these other two direwolves. And let's say Izuku learned enough to actually kind of that his wolves have different elements pretty much. And the two wolves he got out were like fire, was just like regular fire and let's say like darkness. Yeah, that sounds fun. And they just see this, and they just stop what they're doing and try to run off. And Izuku let them, and he said, let them leave. They're a disgrace. You guys head to school now. And he got down, transformed, and said, you two, watch my back, would ya? And they said, yes, sir. Pretty much. And he said, hey, are you okay? And this girl was crying. She said, thank you. Thank you. And he said, you're welcome. What's your name? And she said, Toga. Himiko Toga. Right? Or is it Toga Himiko? Something like that. I don't know. Hey, hold up, let me check. Actually, I have something I could check with it. Give me a second. Yeah, I was right. Himiko Toga. I had the manga, so I could know what their names are. So yeah. Sorry. And he said, here, just come with us for we know you're safe. And then he noticed that her clothes were kind of ripped. He said, okay. And Izuku was wearing a jacket, so he put his jacket over her. He said, no, come to UA with us for now. And they will help you out there and there. And she said, oh, okay. And was following them. Mina and Mirko noticed that she was pretty much tightly hugging Izuku. And Mirko started liking Izuku a little bit, right? And she was kind of blushing about it. She's like, not fair. She was muttering this to herself, and Mina noticed this, and she was kind of teasing Mirko about it. If you guys want Toga and Mirko to be the ship, please tell me in the comments. If no comments are made about ships, that's what the ship's going to be. Okay, back to the story. And this is going to be a heroine relationship, so multiple people will be in this. So yeah, sorry to people that did not, but I've been kind of making videos that have not been heroine for specific people. I can't say it, but yeah, for certain people. And yeah, anyways, back to the story. And they got to UA, and they ran inside quickly. Izuku didn't fall, so he didn't really encounter Uraka. But Uraka noticed them running, and she was confused, and then she saw that girl behind them. So she didn't follow them. She was just wondering what was going on. And when they got inside the school, they looked for a teacher, and they saw, let's say, Midnight. Yeah, Midnight, and they walked over to Midnight. They said, and Izuku said, "Ma'am, Miss Midnight." He said, "Miss Midnight," and she said, "Oh, hello. Yes, do you need me?" And he said, "Yes." He showed Toga, and she said, "What happened to her?" And Izuku told the whole story. She said, "Good job, but don't use your quirks in front of other people like that." He says, "I know." And then Midnight noticed that it was that boy, the one that had the direwolves. She said, "Oh, you are him." And he said, and Izuku's like, "What do you mean by him?" She said, "The direwolf boy?" And he says, "Oh yeah, just call me Izuku, or Deku, whatever one you want." And she said, "Okay, thank you. I'll take her, she'll come with me." And Toga said, "Wait, can I train to be a hero too?" And she says, "Well," and Toga said, "Oh, I'm here to also do the school thing. Can I just get some clothes?" And Midnight's like, "Oh, you are? Oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead." And Midnight got her clothes, and she pretty much went with the others. And Kirishima was just pretty much pissed off about those guys. And Deku noticed this, and he said, "Kirishima, calm down. I'll find them later." Right? And you see Izuku's in his eyes. He was serious about what the hell just happened. Right? And people, when Izuku walked in, people, like, let's say some people were always looking at the doors when people came in, and they just see Izuku and the other kids, but they didn't know who Toga was with them. And some people were spreading it out. They're like, "Oh, it's the boy, it's that dire boy," right? And they just sat down, and they were like 3 rows above Ida, and Bakugo was above them, right? Bakugo didn't notice or pay attention, and Izuku was just sitting by Toga and Kirishima, and pretty much, yeah. And Mike started talking, and they said, "Well, this is the written exam portion. Please get it done. You have 3 hours. Good luck." And Izuku's super smart in this, right? And is Mina, Kirishima, and Mirko also are really smart in this also, because Deku's been like teaching them with that also during their training. And they get it done in about an hour. And Toga's having some difficulties. She doesn't know some. And Zuko's right beside her, and he's helping her. He says, "What do you," and like he's giving hints, and she does it in an hour and 30 minutes, like some other people did. So yeah, sorry. I really like this series. It's going well. I like this. And when they were done with that, and Mike started talking for an hour, let's say, because they had to talk about, yeah, they just had to talk about the sack session or stuff like that. And they were listening, and Deku still pretty much mumbles to himself. So he was mumbling, and Toga didn't know what was going on, but Kirishima did. And Ida was annoyed about this, so he did what he did. And when he looked at Izuku and said, "Stop talking," or mumbling, whatever, he said, and Izuku just looked at him with a dead stare and said, "Oh, sorry. It's a thing I do. And mind your business. Okay, Buttercup?" He said, "Okay, Buttercup." And everyone knew who Azuku was. And they just said, "Oh, no, no, no," right? Because they just witnessed what just happened. And Ida's like, "How are you going to become a hero like that? Blah, blah, blah. How is he even here?" And Mike noticed that it was the direwolf boy. And they're like, "Wait, is that the direwolf boy?" And Ida noticed this, and he's like, "Oh, God, it's him." Right? Ida's just gonna be a dickhead, because I hate Ida, kind of. Like, he used to be this good boy, right? I honestly might make a video about, my opinion of students. I honestly might. I probably will. Because why the hell not? Yeah, I'll just do it later. Anyways, yeah. Hey, about to hit the 40-minute mark. Let's go. Anyways, and they pretty much left him, and Toga Mirko and Deku were in one area, and then Mina and Kirishima were in another. So yeah. And Uraka noticed Zuko, and she thought, I could probably get some money off of him. Because that's Uraka's bitch-ass hoe bitch. So yeah, I also hate Uraka very much. Just hate some characters very much. And yeah, sorry. My back hurts. Okay. So Uraka tried to go talk to them, and then Ida said, please don't disrupt them. They've probably been training together and stuff. And everyone was kind of was like letting Izuku have his own space area. And he said, and he was talking to Mirko and Toga. And he said, wait, Toga, what's your quirk? And then that's when Toga went quiet. And Mirko's like, what's wrong, Toga? Right? Because Mirko's kind of getting along with Toga, in a way. It's like a rivalry, a little bit about Izuku. And she said, well, my quirk's, some people call it a villain quirk. And Izuku's like, what do you mean? It's pretty much if I take someone's blood, I could transform into them for a period, a lot amount of time, and how much blood I take, it's longer. And Izuku's like, oh, that's actually pretty handy to be a stealth hero. She's like, wait, really? And he's like, yeah. And you could help in a lot of situations with that. Probably if you get, I heard Vladkin was one of the heroes here. Maybe he could help you with stuff like that. And she was getting motivated by Izuku. And then he's like, well, here, I'm going to transform into my wolf form. You two could hop on before we could get in front and destroy robots right away. And Toga said, okay. And let's say Toga's actually pretty strong. So pretty much she's going to rip off. I'll tell you later. And Mike started saying, is everyone ready? And everyone started getting prepared. And Izuku transformed into his form on the screen, like you see on the screen right now. And he got ready to go. And the girls hopped onto his back. And other people noticed this. And some girls were like fangirls, so they were jealous. Like, what the fuck? They're like, what the fuck is this going on? They're like, what the fuck? Right? And yeah. Mirko was blushing, and so was Toga. And Izuku was just ready. And Mike said, go. You just see Izuku for a blood second, then you see fire behind him pretty much. Because Izuku's not playing around. And he said he was in front of everyone with the two girls, and he said, jump off now. And they're like, okay. And Toga found a pipe and started breaking them because her quirk's not really attackive, you know. Let's say that, no, I'm going to add an extra ability to Toga, because why the hell not? And later on, this is a thing in the actual canon. And I don't know if I should spoil it. It'll happen during season 5. Fuck. I know there's some people that don't like spoilers, but there's some people that don't care, because I know that in the comments. Fuck. You guys tell me if I should put things, fuck it. Since Toga I'm just gonna no, fuck it. Nope, not doing it, fuck. And let's say Toga could manipulate blood a little bit. Not that much, but manipulate some of it. That's why Izuku said Vladkin. Right? So yeah. And Toga cut a little bit of her hand, and so she made blood daggers, let's say. And she was pretty much ripping her apart. Mirko was kicking, and Azuku summoned direwolves with different elements to help him out. And people just were behind a little bit. They were one of the tops, and so was Mina and Kirishima were doing well. And they all noticed this, and this is like, He looked at the teachers and said, this year we have a pretty oppressive number. Should we send them in? And Midnight was, and let's say Hero's like, wait, if that direwolf boy was there, maybe we should. He was as big as All Might, it looked like. And let's say one of the kids in Izuku's area had a fire, so there's kind of fire spreading around. And people noticed this, so they're being careful. Because the fire's kind of spreading. And the boy could control it, but he didn't care. He just wanted points, right? So yeah. And everyone said, yeah, let's send one in for them. And then they said, and they pretty much sent one in for every area. And let's say Toga got stuck under rubble, and so did Uraka, because I need to. And Deku noticed that the 0-pointer was also coming. And he looked at Mirko and said, which one do you want? And Mirko said, wait, what do you mean? That Toga or that one? And she said, I'll take Toga, you take the other one. And Izuku said, got it. And he rushed over to help Uraka, and he went into his human form, and he sent off, let's say there was 30 wolves in his pack, but he grew by 10 more, because, let's say, some reproduced, but those 10 were babies, or pups, and he said, you guys distract it, right, to the older ones, and they said, got it, and they had different elements, some were different, and some were just normal. So the darkness, earth, water, and ice, let's say, all attacked it in one leg, and people noticed that these wolves came out of nowhere. And Izuku was in this human/wolf form, and he said, are you okay? And Uraka's like, yeah, it just hurts. And Uraka still was thinking about money. She's like, can you help me? He says, yeah. And let's say he said, one of you come over here quickly. Right? And let's say a wolf that was like second in command or like really close to Izuku, and we're gonna call him, let's call him Frederick. Yeah, I like it. No, let's call him Tempest. Yeah. He said, Tempest, come here. And Tempest ran over. He said, yes, master. He said, yes, master. He said, help me with this. And they just lifted rubble. And he said, take her to safety, got it? And he said, yes, sir. And he said, all wolves retreat now. And everyone retreated. The pups were just still in the shadow. Right? And Izuku said, and he transformed into his big wolf again. And the fire was absorbing. Izuku was absorbing the fire. But this time it was different. Fire was spreading around, but also it looked like the fire was armor. It was more armored this time. And Izuku just roared at the 0-pointer, and the 0-pointer started sliding back a little bit because it was getting close to Toga and Mirko. And he said, Tempest and Ryu. Yeah, Tempest and Ryu. And those two ran over. They said, yes, sir. They said, yes, master. Help her. Help Mirko and Toga now. I'll hold off to him. And they're like, yes, sir. The others help me fight. And they all charged at the 0-pointer. And Izuku said, everyone retreat now. They all headed back to protect everyone else, just in case. And Izuku was big. He was bigger than All Might by like 3 feet. And it wasn't really anything to the 0-pointer. 0-pointer was about to crush. Well, it looked like it was about to crush Deku, and all the heroes were about to. Let's say one of the heroes, like Mount Lady, was about to jump out to help. But Cementos was about to use his cement to help, or to block it. But Izuku just jumped and said, Black Lightning. No, should I give him that? Yeah, let's give it to him. He said, Black Lightning. And everyone knew he said, because he could use, pretty much, let's say, he could use the other direwolf's abilities. He said, Black Lightning. And all you see is this humongous lightning zap the robot. And it just, pretty much the robot was still standing, but it was just burnt. And it just started falling down. And Izuku knew this was going to be big shockwaves. He said, all wolves back into shadows. He said, wolves, come. And the wolves went back into the shadows. He went to help Mirko and Toga. They were walking slowly because Mirko got, let's say, one of the robots hit Mirko in the leg, so it was slowing her down. And Izuku came back and he said, hop on. And Izuku wasn't in his fire form. He was just in a regular wolf form. I'll explain more of this probably later. And they hopped onto his back, and he was fast, and he ran. He ran off. And Mike said, time's up. Everyone stopped attacking, and everyone was just in shock about Izuku and everyone else pretty much. Well, but mostly Azuku. And Azuku transformed back, and you just see him sweating bullets, pretty much. Like when a dropped hit, it was loud, right? And he went unconscious, and Mirko was her, and so was Toga and Uraka. So let's say Ida and let's say Kaminari was there. They helped them out. They pretty much got Recovery Girl. But Izuku had to go into, like, the nurse. Pretty much they had to go to the nurse office. So Izuku, Ida, and Kaminari carried them on, like, doctor beds and stuff. And other kids. Let's say 3 other kids helped out. Because, yeah. Yeah. And when they were in there, Recovery Girl looked at him. Cared about. Pretty much he worked on Uraka first, Toga, and then Mirko, because Mirko still had conscience, and so did Toga, but Izuku didn't. And Uraka pretty much just left, because she didn't care about Izuku that much. She just wanted his money, like a little whore-ass bitch he is. Sorry. Anyways, where was I? Fuck. Yeah, anyways, when, let's say Recovery Girl is looking at his quirk also, and Mirko's like, are you allowed to do that? Right, and Kirishima and not Asui, god damn it, Mina were there, and they came in, and they're like, is Izuku okay? Toga said, yeah, he just helped us a lot, from us dying, right? And he's like, that's Izuku, Kirishima said. And she said, yeah, I have authority too. And his quirks are something else. And they're like, yeah, we know he has 2 quirks. And she said, yep. But his wolf one could transform into different wolves. And now this is where I'm going to give you the brief summary of what his wolf quirk could do, because I'm going to be Recovery Girl for a second. So yeah, she says this. It looks like he's a wolf leader. That's what it's pretty much his quirk has rules on it, pretty much. Like, it's kind of tattooed on his back a little. And it says, it's like, promotion, pack leader. And she explains, since he's pack leader, it looks like he could transform into that wolf that we've all seen. And during the battle, it looked like he had another quirk, right? And Kirishima and Mina said, wait, that black lightning out of nowhere was Izuku? And they said, yeah. And she said, well, it looks like the other wolves in his shadow, pretty much all of his pack, and let's say, like, Tempest and Ryu, pretty much, yeah, Tempest and Ryu, those 2, and, like, 2 pups, because why not? The pups were Izuku, like, the little direwolves, came out and were just beside Izuku. And he's like, and Tempest said, well, inside his shadow, we all stay together. It's pretty much like a cave in there. We stay with him, and if he calls us, we come. And he says, and then Tempest explains, I think she was about to say, but since Izuku is our leader, pretty much he can, use our abilities. Yeah, I could explain that a lot easier. Sorry. Pretty much he could use their abilities, and it looks like he has different dire forms. And he says, and Tempest and Ryu said, yeah, we noticed that also. And his dire forms are pretty much a fast-moving type, a tank type, so it's a lot stronger, and then his wolf form and his attack form. Pretty much the form that you see here is just his pack form, and it's a very strong form. So yeah. And Izuku woke up and he noticed Ryu and Tempest and the pups. He said, oh, hey guys. He petted them and said, you guys did well today. And then he put his head back down on the pillow. He said, you guys could head back in the shadows if you want. And the pups did, and so did Tempest, but Ryu stayed by. Because he wanted to help make sure he was okay. And he noticed Toga and all of them were still by. And since it got late, because when they left, it was actually pretty late, right? And Izuku said, wait, did I miss the support? And Recovery Girl said, yes, but how well you did on the test with your other groups, you guys pretty much qualified to go in there if you wanted. And Mirko said, no, I'm not doing that. And Izuku says, oh, thank God. And Toga said, I would like to join you, Izuku, if that's alright. And Mirko looks at Toga and is like, oh, and in her head she says, oh, you're not taking him from me. And she says, you know what, never mind, it seems fun. And then Kirishima and Mina looked at both of them in a dumbfounded face. So yeah. And they started walking home, but Recovery Girls called a car, like an Uber, to take them all home. Because Izuku was pretty much hurt. Or was kind of hurt and was just very exhausted. And let's say Ryu was just carrying him. And Ryu said, are you okay, Master? And he said, yeah, I'm just very tired. And the car came in and he's like, okay, Shadow. He says, just go into the shadow. And he says, okay. He goes into the shadow and, yeah. They take Mirko and Toga. Well, they take Mirko home. Then he asks, in Kirishima, and then they say, so Toga, where do you live? She says, well, I live, on let's say, some certain street, address and stuff, right? Because I don't know where the hell she lives. And when they pulled up, they see that it's like a mansion, because she's actually rich. Yeah, and he's like, oh, wow, nice house. Okay, well, we'll see you later. And Toga thought, wow. And Toga in her head was gonna think, wow, they're gonna use her for money. And he said, well, see you tomorrow then, or see you when we meet up, I guess. And he said, hey, if you ever want to train with us, he gives her his number, and he says, here, just call me, and we'll pick you up. And she says, oh, okay, with a blush. And then they took Izuku and Mina got home. Mina's parents were in shock because pretty much a lot of people saw that black lightning come out of nowhere, right? And they're like, what the hell was that, Izuku? Right? And he's like, I'm sorry, guys. And then he fell asleep. And Mina's like, just let him sleep. She pretty much took him to his room and made him sleep on the floor because for Izuku could just take a shower and stuff and not make his bed sitting, because Mina would probably do that. So yeah. And so yeah. I'm gonna end it here, but let's just keep it into an hour. So I guess with the updates. So yeah, with if Izuku was a magician, it's gonna be Deku X Floppy. And yeah. And if Deku was the Demon King, it's gonna be Ryu, and people said Sophia, so Ryu and Sophia. Well, one person did. I need to check that again just in case. Okay. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoy. If you guys got any ideas about any new what is, I'm probably gonna post tomorrow. I will post tomorrow, probably this series and maybe one extra. But yeah, if you guys have any ideas, please tell me in the comments, and peace out. I really want to keep this on until an hour, but who cares? Goodbye, and have a wonderful day.